a local composer and pianist with us. He's an active composer and performer, and I'm here with him today, and then he's going to present a recital on Saturday night. He's going to do some talking and some playing, and then maybe questions, conversation. So please help me welcome Philip Daniel today.
Thank you so much. I'm Philip Daniel. My last name is actually Zach, but I go by Philip Daniel because there's another Philip Zach in town. There's a lot of Zachs. But it's so good to be here. I actually live like a quarter-mile away, driven by here every day, and never been inside it. And so, very excited for Saturday. I hope you guys all can make it, and please invite your students. I don't have anything concrete really planned. I just kind of want to share about what I do, who I am, connect with you guys, and play for you guys, give you kind of a taste of what Saturday will be like, and then if you have any questions, have some discussion. So, yeah, I guess diving in, I am originally from California, but I moved to Nebraska when I was like 15 and played piano, took piano lessons my whole life, and I did not like it and wanted to quit. So I'm sure you guys all have students who beg to quit. Don't let them. And I stuck with it and really felt like I was good at it, and ended up going to Hastings College and studying classical piano. I had no idea that you could make a living out of doing music, or what I could do, or anything other than thought I was good at piano, and I went into piano performance because I didn't want to teach. At least I thought. And then studied with Dr. Jonathan Soxis. I don't know if anybody here knows him. He's incredible, and he really, really impacted me. He basically told me I was very late to the game in just being technically good at classical piano, and so he pushed me really hard, practicing like 4 to 7 hours a day, being immersed in classical music with the goal of going on to grad school. And so I, through a connection, went down to UMKC and got my master's in piano performance. And it was kind of around that time in my life where I realized I didn't want to play classical piano my whole life, and I wanted to create my own. I also realized that a lot of like the jobs in higher ed were really tough to get and very competitive, and a lot of my classmates I felt like were a lot better than me, and technically I was just very behind with repertoire and technique. And so it was around like grad school I discovered a love of minimalism and neoclassical style music, and so I fell in love with artists like Philip Glass, John Adams, some of these composers who kind of went back to like more emotional music after like the modern era, and who it was simpler, but it was very like receptive and digestible, and I really, really fell in love with that, and like film scores too around that time. I know Philip Glass had done a couple, and they really impacted me, where I thought it was really cool that there was classical roots and an intellectual nature to the music, but they were everyone could love them and emotionally glean something from it. So I started writing music around grad school and just kind of dabbling and writing pieces like that. I'll play a couple today for you guys that I wrote during that time. And then graduated, and just as a freelance pianist, taught a ton of kids, accompanied, and kind of did a hodgepodge for a couple of years of just making it work. I worked for LPS as an accompanist, and had a studio of 20 to 30 kids. I did actually teach a couple mock students. This is like 8 years ago. So that was really neat, and the program's amazing and very unique too, because I lived other places and not everywhere has a program like that. And I really thought it was something really cool that you guys are doing. And so yeah, I always did have this thing in the back of my head that I wanted to just write music full time. I had one professor one time, I asked him like, how do you make a career in composing? And he told me straight up, find another career. It's very hard. And so yeah, and so I kind of wish I had somebody back then, kind of like I know now, that there are a lot of ways to actually make a career in writing and performing. And so that's kind of one of my missions now, is to, I go into a lot of schools when I perform, and I present to music students of sharing what I do, and which I'll dive into, but in hopes of inspiring kids that there's a lot out there, especially with this digital age that we're in. And so, a couple of years of freelance, so I released music, didn't know what I was doing, but I put my first album I wrote on streaming, and a couple songs got picked up, and in the like first year I think did like 5 million streams, which was kind of mind blowing. Of just like, hey, there's a reach, there's a market, there's like a practical use for the genre I'm already naturally in, and so I really pursued that and wrote a ton of music and just kept releasing it. And then slowly over the last like 5 years, I've slowly morphed into now just writing full time. And yeah, one of the impetuses was playlists kind of picked up my music, and now I think I'm at like 100 million streams in lifetime, which is pretty mind blowing that it's reached that many people. I make all the music at my house, record it all, master, mix, design cover, art, all that, and just go online and distributor and release it all on my own. I own 100%. And so that's been really cool. It's just nowadays finding a niche. I tell students, like, find a niche and then find a community within that. And there's a lot of people out there in this world, because we're so connected, that either do what you want to do or will be recipients of your art. And so I found that pretty early on, which is amazing. And then another kind of, the bulk of my career now, streaming is kind of up and down. It's not like something that I've been able to like consistently rely on. But I work with a lot of licensing companies too, so I write music, and then a licensing company will host my music on their site, and then filmmakers all over the world will have to pay for rights to use the music on these sites. And so that's how filmmakers will find my music, and then they'll use it. And so I think I've had music used in like several 100,000 just random films, anywhere from like YouTube, Netflix, cable television, tons of stuff like that. So that's been another kind of passive income niche that I found. Have had random just like spots. Like one time I was watching something and I recognized my song, which was pretty crazy. But anyways, yeah, so that's been really awesome. But the biggest niche I found in the last 2 years is I write, basically 80% of what I do now is I write custom scores for dance companies and work with choreographers all over the world doing that. And because naturally my music lends itself to movement, because it's a lot of arpeggios, very flowy, minimalism style too. Dancers love that, and so I've made some relationships, and now I do that. Basically, majority of what I do is scoring dance performances. One of the most recent notable ones I got to do was last August. I got hired this is another little caveat, but most of my work that I get, commissions, comes from Instagram. Just people I find and connect with and write them. And it's kind of a platform that I've used as, hey, here's my work. You can just go straight to my profile, see what I do, hear what I do, watch high quality content I try to put on there. And then I really network with film directors and dance choreographers, dance companies, venues that I want to play at, and then I always find them and then connect, and then they can see what I do. And so last year I got contacted by a Korean choreographer, and he commissioned me to write custom music for a modern ballet that he created, and he was hired by the country of Korea. They started their first modern ballet company in the country, and they hired him, and then he found me on Instagram and hired me, and then they flew me out there, and I got to write a 20-minute or 15-minute finale solo piano work that I got to perform live with 50 dancers and a huge set, and it was like sold out, and I think like 10,000 people came in downtown Seoul. So it was pretty neat, but it was really cool to like see just me making music in my home in Lincoln can reach that, and I can find these opportunities. And so yeah, that is my goal, is to really, I guess, help students, music students too, who don't know what's out there at all. Majority of all the music I make nowadays is just on my computer. I work with thousands of sample packs, and everything is, I use a computer as an instrument, and so I make synth music, orchestral music, percussion music, guitars, everything, and I use just software. And I still do record and write on piano, but most of what I do is on the computer, and anybody can do that anywhere and produce really high quality music. And so I didn't really know much about that when I was younger, and so I'm really passionate about helping students kind of open their eyes to what is out there in terms of questions or play a couple pieces? Play? Okay. Let's see. I'll play a couple just from years ago up till more modern or ones I've written recently. I'll play two that I wrote for a dance company like 6 years ago. They're a pair of pieces. One's in a major tonality, one's a minor tonality, but they are very similar, kind of in their arpeggiation. A lot of left-hand melody, and then inner voice just arpeggios. Weirdly enough, that kind of style, I did a lecture recital on John Field years ago in Nocturnes, and was really just inspired by how Chopin and him kind of use like bass notes, left-hand kind of melodies, and inner chords, but I don't do it very complex like they did. So, but anyways, this first one's called Brilliance, and the second one's called Blank Canvas. I've never written anything out ever, which is terrible and something I want to start doing. But it all starts with improvising, and then I kind of get a structure, and then with the repetition, I always try to change something or it going somewhere, so it's not just repeating for the sake of repeating. Yeah, I need to write stuff out because I feel like I could do more, because a lot of this stuff is like very pianistic. It's very easy to play, but I feel like I'm missing out on some like complexity. But yeah.
I just think that there might, like, especially your first one, there might be people who would like to play it themselves.
I actually have had somebody write out several of my pieces. A couple I will play, and it's really funny you say that. That first one, last night I woke up to an email from a guy in like Britain who asked if there's sheet music for that first one, and literally today I'm like, I should write that one out. But I do have like 7 or 8 of my pieces, a lot from the first album, and a couple I'll play today that are transcribed on my website. So you guys do have like advanced students that are interested in maybe music like this. It sounds, I think, at least I try my stuff, it sounds harder than it is to play. And so they're like, the last one I'll play for you guys is one I've transcribed, and it's a simple pattern but sounds like very flashy, which I know is great for students. I love. I feel like Beethoven's the opposite.
Yeah.
But, anyway, so yeah, I do have some stuff I'd love to send you guys if you have students who would be interested. One thing I did want to mention, at least as a teacher, I used to teach and kind of getting into composing. I always viewed composing when I was younger. I like would never do it because I viewed it as something some people can do, some people can't do, and just like something you're kind of born with. And I didn't feel naturally good. I have a terrible ear. I didn't feel like I could do it at all, and so I didn't start composing until like senior year in high school. And I didn't have teachers who really pushed it, but I think it's something that if you really push early on, and just then I think students can view it without being intimidated by it, and really like teach them it simple, like, hey, take 5 notes and make a little thing, like from the first lesson on, of just that improvising and kind of writing the lessons. I feel like it's super powerful, because then they can have the belief that, oh, I can write music, and anybody can write music, which is true. Yeah, my first 5+ years of writing were just terrible, and still I don't feel the best sometimes, but it's definitely like a muscle that needs to be exercised rather than just like something you're born with, is what I believe. But anyways, yes.
How do you accept your students? Do you interview them? Do they have to be advanced? Or?
I actually don't teach anymore at all. I stopped teaching completely like 3-4 years ago, and just because this, like, the writing and performing got a lot, and so yeah, which is also why I have people who still ask me, which is great to meet you guys, of just knowing I'll definitely refer, because I have old students who have asked me like about local teachers. But.
Do you write any kind of meditation music?
I write like ambient, which is more like kind of sleep stuff.
Yeah,
I actually just got a job to write like 30 original tracks for it's called the Dwell app. It's a app. It's a Bible app, but they read out loud. And so I think a very popular one, but I'm writing like kind of more like ambient, relaxing music for them, which will live on an app. But yeah, I do have albums on my Spotify that are definitely more like relaxing and meditative. I've seen a lot of people use my music when they license it for like yoga, meditation, playlists and stuff. But you guys want a couple more? I'll play the piece I wrote for the Korea ballet. It's technically one of the hardest ones I've ever written, so don't judge me if I mess up. I'm a little out of practice, but it's a 3-movement work that was seen like straight through. The choreographer really wanted like a very Philip Glass type sound, so it's very like rhythmic and not as much like romantic. So I wrote for that job, or that score, since it was such a big deal, I wrote, like, he had me write like over an hour of music for the 50 So it was like 3 months of just writing, trying to find what he liked, and took months and months. Now I have like an hour of throwaway music that anyways, this is what made the cut. It was, the ballet, by the way, is based off Midsummer Night's Dream, but a modern adaptation. It's a 15-minute piece. I'll only play first and third movement. Don't worry. I'm tired too. actually had to rewrite a lot of that last section and adapt it to what was happening. Yeah, it was intense. It was like 5 hours a day with them, but then they had to rehearse. It was a 2-hour like ballet, and so my part was just the last 15 minutes. I did pre-compose like a 20-minute section for earlier on in the work, but that was all done back in my studio here in Lincoln, and it was like a really dark electronic synthesizers, really dark percussion, orchestral, experimental section. But yeah, it was a lot of waiting around too because they're rehearsing a ton of other stuff, but then stressful because then it's like they didn't get to mine until really late, and then we go in this space and it was this like the lead center times like 4, and then you're doing spacing, the set designs. They spent like 1.5 million on like the whole production, so it was just massive sets. They were initially wanting to have the piano float and move across the stage as I played. They ran out of money though, but it was pretty cool. There's a clip on my Instagram of this performance. Yeah.
When you are improvising and or composing, how much is going on in your brain from a theory aspect, like harmonic analysis,
Yeah.
rhythmic analysis, things like that, versus how much are you just, I like that note, I'll play it.
Honestly, and it differs per person, but it's mostly all theory to me.
It is mostly theory to you?
Mostly all like, what cool chord progression can I do? What about
Okay.
this? How can I do this like chord in a cool arpeggiation? Yeah, to me it's mostly analytical like that because that's something I really gleaned from all my years of classical education. Is just really knowing theory well really helps you be more creative. That's something I would tell students too. Is like people
Can
think
I
you're
quote that?
Yeah. It's just more tools in your belt. Like it's not these people can play by ear, they don't know how to read music. These can. It's like you could do both. You should be able to read music and know the scales and all that because it helps you be like more expressive. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. A lot I just
That was
can't-
my assumption by listening to what you were playing. I'm like, well, that's a really cool chord progression. I like that. But
Thank you.
that's also how my brain works, but
yeah.
I don't get to the creative side of it very often.
Yeah, I mean it's in how I break through is really trying to what I do a lot too is I listen to stuff I like and try to, reverse engineer it of why do I like that, what's going on harmonically, whatever, and then how do I create something that feels that way, or how did they create that feeling, and so that's kind of how I write too. Yeah, it drives me nuts when people are like, oh, I just can't read music, oh, I'm just like by ear. I'm like, well, you easily could if you put the effort in. It won't make you worse. Like you could still be by ear. But anyways.
Just because I'm curious, what piano did they have there?
They had, you guys will appreciate this. They had like 4 massive Steinways. They had 4 concert halls. The whole thing. The week after I played, like I think it was a full Steinway, Yuju Wong played it in the same concert hall
Wow.
with the London Philharmonic.
Oh.
Like
Wow.
literally the next week, the next concert they had scheduled was her playing it. And so I was.
And I'm sure she brags that you played it.
No.
Right?
She did not miss as many notes as me. But yeah. Anyways, that was kind of cool. Yes.
Not a question, just a comment. That last piece, the second part, brought visions of a crisp autumn day, beautiful golden and red leaves falling off the trees with a sparkling lake and a little ducky swimming by. It was just so vivid for me.
Thank you. Appreciate that. There was the scene was like an ocean, so the whole stage was blue, and the dancers were like floating and per se, and it was like very supposed to be. It was all embodied love, the whole ballet, and so that was the end of it. But you guys want some more music? I always play this one at my concerts. You've heard it a ton, but it's the only piece I play that's not one of mine. It's by a German composer, Nils Fromm, and he's kind of one of those other people who I heard his music and my mind was blown. He's like kind of electronic Philip Glass, but does some piano too. This piece he does have transcribed, so if you have students who like want to get out energy It changes every time I play it, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's very percussive, but there's some lyrical stuff in there, and like melodies. Yeah, and I use it as like an accent.
You did.
Not to be, yeah, it's kind of improvised every time, because I play that piece so many times. I kind of use it as improvisation and what do they call it, etude. I play it most days just to like keep my fingers, going. And scales. I play scales every day to this day. I mean, I don't need to preach to you guys, but students, it's like the best thing you can ever do, I think. And just being, like, goes with improvisation is knowing the scales, just your hands knowing it is how I write most things, is just knowing the shapes of, I write a lot by physical shape of just like how it feels. But one other thing I did want to mention too, a lot Saturday, if you guys have students who would be interested in coming to the concert, I do a ton of live looping, and I bring a drum machine, synthesizers, like a lot of keyboards with different types of sounds. I do electronic music mixed with piano, so and I'm gonna bring big speakers, so it's gonna be a lot of fun stuff and way more than just solo piano. So if you have students who that would be down their alley, it would be bumping. So hope the church doesn't mind. But I can play a couple more, and then if there are more questions.
Yeah, we've got about 10 minutes. And
Oh,
then
sweet.
we'll continue with our meeting. So.
Okay. Any more questions, or do you?
What do you think of Hannon?
I do Hannon every day too.
You do?
Yeah, I think it's you can go really fast and get like, it just strengthens my fingers evenly, I feel like. Yeah, I love Hannon. I have, Dr. Sachs, my old teacher, he would always tell me, well, you need to be transposing, it's all 24 keys. And I still do it in C to this day. Don't tell him. But he did it, he does, yeah.
Every key?
I know. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
my students do something.
yeah, I should be doing that. But anyways, yeah, Hannon's amazing. Cheerney. Dr. Sachs, it's always used to tell me too, he never talks with other pianists about three things: of religion, politics, and piano technique too, because everyone has a different opinion. But anyways, I think whatever works for you. But I'll play two more. This second to last one is I got commissioned last year to write, does anybody know the Salt Creek Song Festival?
Yeah.
Yeah, from Ashland. My buddies started it and founded it, and it's like a modern song festival they do in Ashland. It's amazing. They bring in like world-class opera singers and composers and it's all modern music for voice. But I got commissioned to compose for the finale last year, a piece set to an opera, which I've never written for voice. I've never written anything down either, so this was way out of my comfort zone. But he commissioned me to write a minimalism piece set to text of Walt Whitman's Song of Myself. And so it was like, ended up being a 20-minute piece with electronics, live looping, this style of music, but then it was 3 male baritone opera singers. Jared Hiscock is his name. He works at the university. And then Bill Shomos, Dr.
Yeah,
Shomos, yeah. And so he was the one who kind of spearheaded the whole project. It was an amazing experience, and there's a recording on my Spotify if you guys want to listen, and we'll perform it again soon. But this is the finale, and over the top of this piece was like spoken word